Taking one thing and turning it into something else is what transmutation magic is all about. Just make sure you know what you're doing, or you might end up in an explosive situation. The first spell for today is going to be Maximilian's Earthen Grasp. You create a hand made of stone and soil that rises up from the ground and reaches towards an enemy within 30 feet of you. The creature must make a strength saving throw or take 2d6 bludgeoning damage and become restrained. The caster can concentrate on the hand for up to a minute, and while restraining the enemy can use their action to deal that damage again. The amazing thing about this spell is that if a creature is restrained by the hand, then they have to use their action to attempt to break out of it, meaning that they can't use their action to do something like attack you. With all of this information, you're probably asking yourself, why is this spell underrated? Well, really, the main reason it's here is because its damage is pretty mediocre for a second level spell. For example, Scorching Ray has potential to deal 6d6 damage. Acid Arrow has the potential to deal 6d4 damage. Or even Spiritual Weapon at least guarantees your spellcasting ability modifier plus a d8. But what this spell lacks in damage, it makes up for in utility. If you miss a target with your hand, you can simply maintain concentration and try again next turn. And eventually, someone's going to get caught and they're going to be restrained. A restrained creature's movement becomes 0, they have disadvantage on all attacks and dexterity saves, and any attacks against them have advantage. So if you can get past the mediocre damage, I guarantee that this spell will net you some compliments on the battlefield. Next up on our list is a spell that we've covered before, and it is a contender for one of my personal favorite spells in the entirety of 5th edition, and I am of course talking about the fantastic Guardian of Nature. This spell costs a bonus action that you can cast on yourself to grant a variety of different bonuses, transforming you into a new form. You can choose to either transform into the Primal Beast form or the Great Tree form. They both offer different benefits, so let's start off with the Primal Beast form. You increase your walking speed by 10 feet, you gain dark vision out to 120 feet, you make strength-based attack rolls with advantage, and your melee weapon attacks deal an extra d6 of force damage. The Great Tree form, on the other hand, grants you 10 temporary hit points, advantage on all con saves, advantage on dex and wisdom-based attack rolls, and the ground around you within 15 feet becomes difficult terrain. Anyways, the reason this spell is underrated in my opinion is because it is a 4th level spell. Some other 4th level spells are things like Blight, Hallucinatory Terrain, Greater Invisibility, Wall of Fire, and arguably one of the most popular spells in the game, Polymorph. Now, why do I like this spell? There are clearly better 4th level spells that you can take, right? So what is so special about it that it is one of my favorites in all of 5th edition? Well, I find that this spell really shines when it's used by a druid. You can cast Guardian of Nature on yourself, then wild shape into a beast, and now you get the benefits of Guardian of Nature on top of your new beast shape. And if you're a moon druid, this allows you to transform into much stronger beasts than standard druids, and now you're even better. You're probably already saying, wait a minute, wouldn't transforming negate the transformation from Guardian of Nature, you big dummy? Well, I have 2 responses to that. First, why do you hate fun? Honestly, the spell's fun, just let it be fun. Like, the only thing worse than hating fun would be if you weren't subscribed to the channel. Who does that? And second, Jeremy Crawford actually tweeted and confirmed that it works, so it works. Next up on our list, we have a spell that is really in a class of its own, and that would be the 4th level spell Elemental Bane. You pick a creature within 90 feet of you and choose an element. Acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. That creature must make a Constitution saving throw or suffer the Bane. An affected creature loses any resistance to the chosen damage type they had, if they had any, and the first time they take damage of the chosen type, they take an additional 2d6 damage. While I like this spell, with one quick look at the description, it's pretty easy to see why it's underrated. But this spell has 2 things going for it before we label it as bad. First, it's concentration for up to a minute. This means that you could theoretically deal up to 20d6 extra damage, assuming you use the same elemental damage on your turns thereafter. And that's not even considering that it takes damage on the first time each turn. Not each round, each turn. This means that if you have 2 party members dealing the same elemental damage, the potential damage ups from 20d6 to 40d6. If you have multiple party members that deal a certain type of damage, this spell's value skyrockets. But the second more realistic reason this spell is important is because it removes resistances. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, more frustrating than casting your big spell like a fireball and only having them take half damage regardless of if they fail to save or not. And if your big spell doesn't have options, or you just don't have class features to change the damage type, you're out of luck. But Elemental Bane fixes that problem for you and turns it into a strength by not only removing resistances, but also increasing the damage it deals. While it does take a turn to set up, the fact that it has arguably the highest potential damage throughput in the game makes it almost always worth taking. Next, we have a new spell on our list that was introduced with Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, and that would be a Chardalon Stride. Billowing flames of a dragon blast from your feet, granting you explosive speed. This spell is a bonus action that increases your speed, who would have guessed, by 20, and moving does not provoke opportunity attacks while under the effects. The cool thing about this spell is that it leaves a trail of fire behind you as you move. Any creature that you move within 5 feet of while you're under the effects also take a d6 of fire damage from the trail of fire you're leaving behind. This spell is also concentration, lasting up to a minute, meaning you could literally run circles around your enemies without provoking attacks of opportunity. What's more is, since it's a bonus action, you have a lot of freedom. If an enemy gets too close to you, cast this spell, run away, leaving fire in your wake, dealing the damage, and then turn around and firebolt them from a distance. The increased speed means you're virtually impossible to catch up to, making concentration checks negligible. This spell is underrated mainly because it is a 3rd level spell, meaning that it competes with other spells like Fireball and doesn't really catch many people's eyes simply because it doesn't have a large dice number. Sure, it's not the most dangerous or impressive spell out there, but with its lack of popularity and its incredible utility, it certainly deserves a spot on this list. And finally, rounding out the underrated transmutation spells, we have the 2nd level Dragon's Breath. You touch a willing creature and imbue it with the power of a dragon, granting them the ability to spew one of 5 potential magical energies from their mouth. Acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. The spell is concentration up to a minute and allows a creature to use their action to create a 15-foot cone similar to a Dragonborn's Breath ability. This spell is probably the least underrated on the list, but I still think it's underrated simply due to the mechanics of the spell. The spell itself is a bonus action, but creatures must use their action to use their breath ability thereafter. While it does deal a fair bit of damage, giving up your action is a hard pill to swallow for many players, which, in my experience, tend to like to do their own thing on their turn. However, if your party works together well, you can make use of intelligent planning, which makes this an incredibly potent spell that you should almost always pick up. This is completely speculation, of course, but if you have a companion pet, maybe you could even pull out some sort of really cool spell combo. There may even be some video out there narrated by an incredibly handsome and popular man whom everybody loves and has no anxiety issues at all. Why would I bring that up? I don't know. Why wouldn't I bring it up? Anyways, that does it for 5 underrated transmutation spells in D&D 5e. As always, I wanted to end the video with a huge thank you to our patrons. These wonderful people are keeping my lazy ass on track and helping me put out a video every week. So here's to you, you beautiful bastards and bastards. That's a god, isn't it? If you want to join our Discord or our Patreon, I put all the links in the description below for you to check out. And if you have any underrated spells, leave a comment below and let me know. I read every comment, almost always reply, and who knows, I might even feature your comment in the next video. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you on Friday.